Good morning, folks. East of Eden grower Creedmoor here. Taking a few minutes out of my day to just talk a little bit about what we do here with our no-till back to Eden growing method. I just wanted to take a quick moment to show y'all that this is my raised bed. These are my tools. This is all I use here. A pair of heavy rubber gloves, a ruler for layouts, a very small shovel because you really don't need much. We don't dig here per se. I use a pail and a bucket, one for amendments and one for moving raw soil around. I just want to say, as a precursor to all this, behind me you see my main Eden grow. There are several other grows on my property that are equal to this. Not necessarily in age, but definitely in size and function. They all work the same way. The most common tool that you'll see me using here in any of those areas is going to be this tool right here. It's not a rake, but it does rake. It's not a shovel, but it does shovel. It's not exactly a fork, but I'm sure you could eat with it if you have a big mouth. What it is it's a tool for moving chips around, for moving hay around, for moving straw around, for moving amendments around, organic amendments in particular, things that are larger, but that might slip through some cracks. In this particular case, as you can see, wood chips bind well, they sit together, they sit right on it, and it's very easy to spread. Very light, it's much lighter than dirt. I want to make that point clear. I'd rather move wood chips or wood chip soil than move dirt around because dirt is heavy. In the back here you can see I've got, maybe you can see, I'm hoping you can see, I've got a piece of rebar, steel rebar that's pushed into the chips, pushed into the media, pushed into the soil, but it just stops just maybe in the first or second or third inch of red clay soil below. Because we've been growing here for 8 years, the soil's no longer red, it's a bit richer, it's a bit better, it's still full of toxicity, we still don't grow in it, we probably never will. There's no reason to, as we've discovered. Absolutely no reason to grow in the dirt. I don't know if I said that clear enough. There's no reason to cover your land with wood chips and organic amendments and then dig way down. How far down? How far down? Come on, folks, let me show you. This is how far down I would have to dig to get to dirt. Can any of you in your wildest imaginations ever expect yourself to dig that far down to plant in the dirt below? If you look really close, right into the sunlight right there, you'll see about 6 inches of this is dirt. And then up to my thumb is about 22 inches of very well broken down, fine compost that has been amended through the years and had literally nothing but wood chips laid on top of it in the fall, and then again at some points in the spring. I do like to use fresh wood chips as a weed prevention, as a nefarious weed germination prevention. It works very well. We do get some volunteer growth. We do get some occasional weeds coming up on the edge. We certainly get plenty of grass and weeds. As you can see, there's seed heads everywhere because it's spring here in North Carolina, and these things blow in the winds, they settle on the garden. If you have a nice layer of some coarse chips on top, they tend to grow a whole lot less. They just don't germinate as well in that type of soil. That's pretty much all I can say about that. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what the story is with these black rubber mats. They're black in some areas, they're green in other areas. Like I mentioned in previous videos, I got them from a friend who had me do some work for him, and I've been very, very grateful for that gift that he's given to me because it works really well to keep the rhizomal grasses from growing and entering into the garden. They do tend to grow under it, but they don't really thrive. Once this heats up from the sunlight, it'll be so hot, very little can grow on it or around it. As you can see, the border has been here for 2 or 3 years. At this point, it's working really, really well. We removed a wooden border. We removed a hardy plank border. We've moved past all of that stuff, folks. The easiest thing is to lay your raised bed right on the garden. For me, for someone who might have back troubles or knee issues, you might want to elevate it even higher. But in this case right here, I love walking on this. It's soft on my feet. I never had a worm complain that I stepped on his back, but it's very good. It's very effective. Okay, so we're going to move from this area to the middle of my garden. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how, why, and where we plant our seeds, how, why, and where we plant our plants, Some people like to germinate their seeds indoor and then bring a plant out for hardening, and then after it's had sufficient time to cope with the outside weather, they'll put it in the soil. Never will you ever see me dig all the way to the dirt and drop a plant down in the dirt, because its entire plant body would be buried by the mass of this compost. Okay, so I gotta make that clear. A lot of people seem to have the misunderstanding that what you're supposed to be doing is planting in the dirt. Look around you. When you look around here, this has been a farm for 100 years or more. But all you see is weeds and grasses. And that's what's gonna be in direct competition with whatever you intend to grow and feed your family with. Why would we want to do that? There's no weeds inside the trees. There's no weeds in their branches. As a matter of fact, most standing trees, they contain antifungals, they contain antibacterials, they contain compounds that allow them to live, that allow them to prevent getting sick by pathogenic substances, chemicals, and insects that might contain viruses and bad things. The trees have their own natural defenses, similar to how we have natural defenses, and they develop through the years, through the centuries, to meet or exceed the needs in their growing area. Anyway, when we chip up their branches, small branches, less than 4 inches, and we put those right into our garden with the leaves, with the chips, with the lignins, with everything that's there, and put it right in our garden, it tends to sheet compost through the years. So if we do this every fall, then the layer beneath that, which is already composted by an entire season or two, breaks down even further. It becomes the home for the biome. They live in there and they do their thing in a very synergistic way to make sure that everything beneath the top cover is working exactly as it's supposed to. They're little farmers, they prune your roots, they eat the dead stuff, they help things to decay into a greater state. They help to transfer nutrients. In particular, I'm talking about rhizomes, and the mycorrhizal family of fungi can attach themselves to the roots of your plants, and there's a nutrient exchange, a beneficial symbiotic nutrient exchange that exists within the soil and the plant. So what I'm talking about is living soil. When I'm talking about living soil, I'm not talking about dead earth. I'm not talking about the rocks and all the other stuff down there that just contains weeds. No, I'm talking about right here in this bed of compost. There's worms, plenty of red wigglers. There's all kinds of archaea, bacteria, protozoa, nematodes, you name it, small insects, large insects, frogs, toads, lizards. Even the bad bugs are down in there. They overwinter in there. And then when they come up, my balancing insects, my balancing bugs, they step right in. They step right in to do that job. If it were left to me to step in and do that job, I would make a mess of it. Because if you want to make a mess of a system, just add more humans. The more humans we add, the more messy the system gets. But if you want to clean up your system, give it to nature. Mother Nature will put everything that she needs to balance what you do in there. And then all you have to do is run a little maintenance, plant some seeds, plant some plants, give the soil biology what they need to grow, and stop digging, turning, and tilling. I'm telling you folks, the sooner y'all let go of the notion that you need to plant in the dirt, the sooner you're going to move on to having a productive grow. In this particular grow, we grow 365 days a year. I'm going to cut the video, and I'm going to take you around and show you some of the stuff that's growing, and I'm going to go over there and talk to you about how I plant. After that discussion, I'm hoping to remove any of the myths associated with taking care of your food the way I take care of my food, without tilling the earth, without killing soil bacteria, without killing soil fungi, without killing any of those things that support life. All I'm going to do is basically take a seed and put it in the ground. All I'm going to do is basically take a plant and put it in the ground. That's it. Nothing more. A little bit of food goes a long way, but am I feeding the plant? No, folks. I'm feeding the microbes in the soil. And then the plant is going to do its job, taking its food up the phloem and the xylem, through its fluid channels, up and in and out of all the leaves and through the roots, and it's going to do all of that good stuff on its own. I don't have to help it or hold its hand. All I have to do is provide for the soil biome, create the structure of living media, and put a plant in. Okay, now that that's cleared up, we're going to move along.